Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Viewers, comments and questions live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Beautiful. We have the lovely Jake in as well. Mr. Loosemore. There is no one more loose than Jake. Yeah, so hope you're all wonderful. Hope you all had a great weekend. I had a cracking weekend. The sun was out. We had the barbecue on.
It has been a glorious...
It has been magical.
A glorious, glorious weekend, which of course, here in the United Kingdom is something to be very thankful for, given that we are not blessed with year-round good weather.
It's been... The start of the year, weather-wise, has just been an abomination.
Even week-round good weather.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't... Let's adjust that a minute.
What's wrong?
It was sort of at a jaunty angle.
Oh, yeah, no. Kind of that. Yeah, check this out. There's my jaunty tower of power. So I've been... the EchoFix EFX3 been playing around with today on top of the mattress with my new 1x12 mattress cab, which has arrived. Didn't arrive in time for the gigs, but it has arrived. And so I need to give that a good hammering, and yeah, that's great. And the delay is just awesome. I
shall, on your behalf, Dan, start hitting it with some 50 hertz or something for a few hours.
I'd appreciate that.
To get that speaker where it needs to be. That's how they do it, in case you didn't know. A bit more of that. A bit more volume, that's what we need. Interesting how it compresses it. Anyway, listen, I'm not allowed to talk about production. Welcome everyone. We want to say hi to Robert Ebows from Hawthorne, California.
Yeah, boy.
Dino Guitar Guy is on from sunny Bournemouth. Hello to sunny Bournemouth.
Lovely.
Aloha. Miona Waves says aloha. Oahu. Is that that?
Yeah. Oh, Oahu.
Yeah.
Live long and...
Oh,
the silliness. I tell thee.
Non-human audio is on. Hello.
Oh, yes. So non-human audio. I forget his name. The gentleman that did the collaboration with Chris that ended up in The Florist, which is amazing. So pleasure to meet you, sir.
Hello, non-human audio. Hobo Roadie is on. Eagle Ray Rob is on.
The Eagle Ray Rob.
From the eastern coast of the United States. Quite a big coast. The eastern coast of the United States.
Western coast is equally large, is it not?
Yeah. Who knows in actual miles, given the distribution of bays and the like.
We're going to... which coast is Miami on?
The east coast.
We're going to the east coast.
Nice.
Heading over there.
Bienvenido a Miami.
We got married in Miami, my wife and I.
Did you?
And, yep.
Are you going to celebrate an anniversary?
20-something years ago. We're taking the kids and going to go over and go...
Oh, you got to take the kids?
I know. Well, we'll drop them off at the keys and head on. But yeah, it'll be lovely. Just going for a week or so.
Nice. Scott Gaylor is on. He said, good day, gent.
Good day, sir.
Scott from Baltimore is on. Just borrowed a Big Muff from a friend. That's what they're calling it now. Randy Rothschild is on. He says Tucson is in the house.
Ah.
And Mr. Bones is on from Albany, New York.
There's a comedy, Last Man on Earth. I'm sure it was like live in Tucson.
Ah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Just next to Threeson. Stockholm, Sweden, represent from Guitar Bass Dude. Hello, Guitar Bass Dude. And Rick Appleby is on from sunny West Cork. Nice. We had some people here from Cork on Friday, indeed.
Yes.
Yes. Neil. Hello, Neil. I'm really sorry that I forgot temporarily. My brain is doing all kinds of things. Ed is on. Airfire.
Hello,
Hi,
sir.
Ed. Hope you're well, mate.
Lovely to run into Ed again at the cavern. It's lovely to see you, Ed. Thanks for coming down, mate.
Yeah, James Blessed is on from Glasgow. We say a big thank you to BV for being in there and moderating and doing all of that. And genuinely upping the TPS massive. We say Frankie Holt is on from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Hit recording capital of the world. I love that. I love the way you always write that. And Thomas Ross is on, who says, good morning from all in the TPS family. Okay,
Lovely.
good. Lots of lovely humans on this evening. Let us dive headlong into the Super Chai. Brazil. Bruno Valese is on from Brazil.
Ciao.
Yeah,
Obrigado.
Nice. Good. Right, housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Remember the young ones, anyone? Probably not. This month's giveaway is a Benson delay. And if you
enter?
If you are a patron, you should have had a link to that already. Please check your inbox if you have not, because it might be in your spam. And we will have a second giveaway this month as well to make up for the one we didn't do in April with apologies. Insert excuses here. Oh yeah, so the second giveaway is going to be a True-Fi Floyd fuzz, thanks to Teddy. Thank you,
Teddy.
True-Fi make really spectacular pedals.
So good.
And this is no exception.
We did a TPS run of this power, the overdrive
We didn't
power booster. It was
in
orange.
the end.
Didn't we?
No, we didn't do it.
We didn't do it, but
No.
we got one.
We got one, yeah.
which was really cool.
So patrons, keep an eye on your inboxes, and as I say, check your spam folder. And one thing we are encountering with communicating with large numbers of humans in general is they can't remember which email they send things from. So they're like, you haven't sent me the email. And then we say, yes, you have. And they say, oh yeah, I changed my email address. We can't do anything about that. All right? Just to make the point. Calling the USA. Everyone in the USA, listen up.
Hark.
Listen to these messages.
Hear ye.
From until further notice, there will be free shipping for orders over 50 English pounds. That's over 50 pounds, mind. Not 50 pounds. Over 50 English pounds, you will get free shipping to the United States.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty groovy.
That's very good.
Yeah. We tested it a few weeks ago and the feedback was very positive. So thank you to everyone who ordered. We're currently investigating whether we can roll this out to other countries around the world. We just need to get our ducks in a row and get them quacking.
Yeah. How does one get ducks in a row?
I think that's the point of the expression.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible.
Well, on the move, they always go in a row. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when they're on the move, they're usually in a line.
So you let them do their thing. Just let them. So me getting my ducks in a row is just like, take the hands off the wheel.
I think it depends on the duck as well, because you've got all kinds of different ducks, and I expect your common mallard acts quite different from your muscovy. They have all kinds of different personality traits,
Yes,
I
they
expect.
do.
I do know their feces are quite different, having stood in a lot of it.
Okay. But both equally tasty.
These are the things you learn living in the countryside. Anyway, without further ado, let us talk about items pertaining to guitar. How do we feel about this? I'm going to turn the super chats off because I'm going to guess we've got loads. And if we haven't, so be it.
Very good.
Right, if you've super chide to this point, you will be answered. And they are now off.
There we go. Wally Fox has said, please do the same for Canada. Canada's weird shipping wise. I don't know why, but it costs exponentially more to ship to Canada, I find.
Yeah, and there was a load, I don't know whether there was industrial action or somebody fell out or something. There was some huge physical problem with getting stuff.
Yeah.
Getting it to Canada, no problem. Within Canada, problem. So,
yeah, it's interesting. I'm gonna delve further into that because, I want to go to Canada. Maybe that's what we can do. You and I can go up, see Joey, and just say we're just here exploring shipping pricing.
Yeah.
We're having a meeting with
7 hours of guitar tone, 20 minutes of shipping information.
Perfect.
Incidentally, patrons keep an eye on your inbox, especially this week, because we do have some Dan Drive bonk machines to sell.
Oh, wicked!
Yes, we do. There's hardly any. There's 10. because Dan makes in really tiny numbers, as you know. His stuff's really hard to get hold of, but we will be emailing patrons about that this week. With a little demo from Joey as well, for obvious reasons.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah, sounds awful, doesn't it, Jake? We were listening to it today.
It's terrible.
Rubbish. You don't want one.
Awful guitar player.
Awful.
Matt Swanton says, a tangent about ducks. I'm so glad to see nothing has changed. No.
Yeah. I was going to make a foul joke, but I won't. I'm going to just move on.
Very good. Okay, right.
On fire.
There's a new high water mark.
On fire.
Very good.
Lee Brimble. Hi, Lee. Good to hear from you, buddy. I've been meaning to get in touch with you, actually, about various video things. Lee says, after the experience day, I purchased a second-hand deluxe for wet dry with my bad cat. I got bad hum, so I purchased the Gen X14. Wow, hum gone. Pedals sound so amazing. Thanks, Gig Rig. The Dumble video was special.
Oh, mate. Thank you. Well, that means a lot. Appreciate
Nice one,
that.
Lee.
Thank you, Lee. Well, I'm experimenting with my 2-amp setup at the moment. So matchless is a keeper, but we playing through this Benson amp last week.
Bell ringer.
The bell ringer. Oh my goodness. But it might be that I gave her something completely different. Like, I don't know, rhymes with crumble.
You are interested in the crumble.
I'm so interested in the crumble. That never experienced anything like it. So I want to have a play with that. But I've just put the Echo Fix.
I was
the
thinking about
FX3.
doing a t-shirt that says Mumble on
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Mumble. We could do Mumble t-shirt, crumble, bumble. I'm not saying anything. No information from me whatsoever.
Professor Crumbledore.
No information required from me.
Oh my
at
goodness.
all. Nothing to see here. Just casually walking across the screen. Nothing to say. Nothing to see there.
Now we should do.
I want to say big thanks to the guys at Overdrive Guitars in Hayes, who I went to see on Saturday morning.
What year is that?
What?
Nothing. Nothing, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was testing you.
Nothing.
You've passed.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
I mean,
Well
if you any year you picked out of the ether, it might not even be 1974.
Okay.
Might not even be that.
What year is the high watt?
73.
I think.
2 awesome things happened in 1974, Dan.
You were born.
I was born.
Yeah.
Spectacular. 2, they made that 100-watt Marshall super bass.
Everything, everything aligned. And they said one day that young man is going to need
The
100
BBC,
watts.
Pathé News, CBS, all the big networks said, no other news required this year.
Right.
Nothing. Mick has been born, and Marshall made that super bass.
Yep. You
See?
suckling on a super bass. It's lovely. It's got bite marks on it. Yes, he's teething.
Jason Sears, hi Jason. He says, how about some love for the bass? There you go.
That's it.
100-watt super bass. No, he said, how about some love for the bass? Maybe jam pedals or bass pedal show. We feel you, Jason. We get asked all the time for bass content, and we really, really would love to do it, and then we never do it. So
We did it once.
Something is broken.
So we had Dishan on, extraordinary bass player.
Dishan
Abrahams. And it's like 7 people like, yay, bass. And yeah, but one thing that we do want to do, I've been threatening to do this for years. So we'll get Paul Turner and Rob Harris from Jamiroquai on, and they've got a new band they're doing. Because I want that groove thing, especially that, they've been playing together a long time. It's really interesting and quite hip. What is hip? At the moment. So I'd love to get them on because they're really awesome guys, wonderful players, and I think they'd be interesting. And there'd be some bass in there. I think you've got to marry the bass up with something else.
Yeah. Drums I always find is a good place to begin.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah. Oh, we can do the whole band, get the gear going, get your
See, now I'm interested.
There you go.
Now I'm interested. If
Right.
there's production and faders involved, I'm colour me interested. Yeah, it would be great. It would be great to do a bit more on that. Yes, we're hearing you. Adventures in Gearland says Redux is the Mallard NOS, or should I stick with JJ's? Yes. Dan, confusingly enough, Dan does actually have an amp called a Mallard.
I do. It's a
Anyway,
20
right.
watt Marshall Plexi.
We better hurry up. Joe Halliday is on. Hi, Joe, from Hello Sailor. He says,
Hello,
hey,
sir.
guys.
Looking forward to seeing you. Is it this next week?
I believe so. Next
Yeah.
Friday. Week on Friday, in fact.
Looking forward to seeing you, mate.
He says, hey, guys, hope you're well. The Chris Benson episode was without equal. He's such an interesting guy.
Yeah. Such an interesting guy.
And you don't get to see too much of him. It was fascinating. Thank you for the kind words last Q&A. I'm truly grateful.
Oh, mate.
As we are for you, buddy.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
Plexico, Duncan. Hi, Duncan. He says, howdy all. Wanted to give Dan a big congratulations on the Steve Morse gig rig pedal seen on another channel. He's my favourite player besides Mick. Peace.
Thank you, buddy. Yes. Steve Morse is now using a Wetterbox.
Ah,
Yeah, which is really great. And he was talking about it on a rig rundown. He loves it, and
was it on Premier Guitar?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so yeah,
Nice.
yeah, very cool. Thank you, mate. I was overwhelmed. So, Steve Morse, I'll tell you a quick little story. When I first heard Dixie Dregs and Steve Morse doing his thing, and there's like songs like Too Many Notes and Highland Wedding, I actually learned to play Highland Wedding for my sister's wedding.
Ah.
And it was that's how, man, it's been a long time. That thing.
Where did she get married, just out of interest?
In Sydney, on that harbour.
How is that?
Oh, she's my younger sister.
No, elevation-wise.
On the harbour?
Yeah.
Just on the water.
Lowland wedding.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Swing and a miss for me.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the effort. So I absolutely loved Steve's playing, and I was a massive fan. And he came into Sydney. I saw him play at the Harbourside Brasserie, I think it was, in Sydney, and he was just awesome. And then he was doing a clinic the next day, and it was for a college, like a music college, and I wasn't part of the college, but my friend was, and he got me in. And there was like 300 guitar players in there, and they played, and they were using like borrowed gear from the college, which was crap, and they sounded epic.
They sounded, yeah, of course they did.
And at the end, Steve's like, hey, anyone got any questions? And like, no one put their hand up. So I put my hand up and asked him a question. And I was like, you group lots of groups of sevens and fives, and is that a conscious thing? And gave his hand through. It was really lovely. And then, anyone else? No one else. Put my hand up again. I asked him 5 questions because no one else, out of 300 guitarists, the only other question
What strings do you use?
was what strings you use. It was the only other question. And I was going crazy because he was this absolute
Yeah.
world-class guitar player in front of people that are studying this for a living. No one had a question to ask him. And anyway, at the end, I went up and got my CD signed. And he says, you're the guy with all the questions. So if he sees this, it's like, Steve, I was the kid that had all those questions for you at that Sydney thing, and now you're using a letterbox. So there you go.
You wait, you'll get it back through the post with weirdo written on it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Steve's awesome, and I'd listen to that album over and over, and just epic. So it was a really big deal for me. So yes, thank you, mate. I really appreciate it.
Paul Snow, quick question. He says, if you took the best parts of your favourite amp to make the ultimate impossible amp, what would those components be?
Ooh.
I'll tell you mine. Robin's Overdrive Special front end, Robin's Overdrive Special back end, and Robin's Overdrive Special cabinet.
I concur. Best amp I've ever heard.
Yeah, literally the best guitar amp I've ever heard.
Yeah.
By some margin.
Yeah, that's it.
With the possible exception of that 1974 Super Bass. Yeah, it would be. It would be that.
Every other amp that we get now, we're going to be so excited about until we plug it in, and it's like, nearly. Yeah. But no, that's I'll tell you what would be interesting. That and the high watt.
We've got to get the high watt fixed.
Let's go to high watt.
Yeah, we've got to get it
have
fixed.
A look at it.
It's not
just
right.
noisy. I think it's just the caps.
It's not right. It's not just noisy. It's not harmonically happening.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, sorry, right, we really do need to hurry up. Sam Colson. Hi, Sam. We saw you in Liverpool. He says, thank you for the Cavern show, Leggins. I'd like to run my whole board as outboard gear. Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips on doing this and handling line level into the board?
Yeah. You need to make sure that everything that you're running into the board can handle line level. The other thing is you need to make sure that everything that you're running, you're happy to have it all in series. So the series parallel thing is a big deal with everything. But when you're running like a post preamp signal when you're going into the power amp stage, just be aware that sometimes the sounds you're after are the parallel things as opposed to the series things. But the most important thing is just make sure that everything can handle line level and make sure that you've got good analog drive-through. If you do have things in series, crucial to make sure you've got good analog drive-through in everything that you've got in that signal chain. You need the transient that you hit to appear at the end of the signal chain at exactly the same time. Those electrons need to go like imagine a pipe with marbles in it, and when you push that first marble, that last marble shifts at exactly the same time. Speed of light, to be exact, but that's what needs to happen with your dry signal, right? When that transient hits, those marbles got to go ding. It needs to appear at exactly the same time. If you have ADA stages through that with your dry signal, you're going to get latency and it'll be a nightmare. So that's what I would say.
Just a qualification point on the parallel series thing. Do you mean different effects in series and parallel, or do you mean the affected sound and your dry sound in parallel?
If you have one effect and you've got proper analog drive-through, then that effect is in parallel to the drive-through.
Yeah.
If you have got more than one effect and you've got them chained in series, then that effect will be going into the input of the next effect, and further down the chain it goes. So the parallel effects is more than one effect blended in on top of that drive-through signal. So it's like an outboard gear, right, with your aux sends, being able to blend in that.
Yeah, so talking about outboard gear, let's say you've got a delay and a reverb outboard on two separate aux sends. If you turn up the reverb, it's not making the delay sound any different.
There you go.
And if you turn up the delay, it's not hitting the reverb harder because they are completely separate and parallel. What you just said. Sorry, I wasn't sure if you're talking about the effects or the wet-dry thing.
That's exactly right.
But no reason, as long as you get as he said right at the beginning, as long as the in and out signal level is fine, no reason why you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But it does become, I mean, this is the problem they were getting into in the 80s as the chronology of it being amps got louder and louder and louder and more distorted, getting into stuff like modded Marshalls and cranked whatever this and whatever that. Couldn't really run the reverbs and delays into the front end because they sounded messy and horrible. They got used to new studio recording techniques, exactly what we've just been talking about with parallel effects. And then the players of the day tried to replicate that in a live environment with their refrigerator style racks. Enter people like Bob Bradshaw, Pete Cornish, all those guys who were inventing these incredibly complex systems to basically sort that problem out in a big way. Because the processing existed, no problem. The guitar amps existed, no problem.
Yeah.
The problem was the interface between the two.
Yep.
Thankfully, these days, a lot of modern effects loops can bridge the gap, so to speak, and you can get other devices that will help bridge the gap as well. But it's not for the faint of heart. I would say personally that nothing really sounds like good quality analog outboard gear with high headroom and external power. That's where all the best sound is.
We've had some amazing experiences recently, sort of upgrading or really getting to grips with our outboard gear. And it's been...
Well, listen to the last month's worth of shows.
Yeah.
And you should be able to hear it loud and clear.
Yeah. And I heard I had like Friday's show and I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's the closest we've ever got to actually representing what was going on in the room.
Robin's Dumble was a bit of an anomaly because it was Robin's Dumble. But then we're back to a normal show.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it definitely sounds better and fuller. Now, whether you can perceive that through a guitar amp and whether it's actually worth it in a guitar amp versus the best of the modern effects from people like Chase Bliss, Strymon, Empress, etc., that's a moot point. I mean, we know players who say it definitely would. Paul Stacey springs to mind. Yeah.
I'm going, like, one thing I'm trying now is the reason I was setting up the EFX3. I want to go back to all analog. Apart from specific things, like my 12-bit delay has got a specific sound.
And you can't really do plate reverbs and room reverbs in analog.
But I don't really have... I'm not going to use those reverbs anymore.
Okay.
I'm going back to spring reverbs.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you should hear the Benson.
The tall boy?
Yeah.
You fixed it?
Tallbird. Well, we fixed half of it.
Right.
But by fixing half of it, I could hear it. And it's like... Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Well, playing his Surfs Up.
Yeah.
Because he's got two separate springs, two separate tanks that you can blend between. It was awesome. So yeah, I'm going to put my the Carl Martin headroom in one side and switch on and off the small box spring reverb and that thing. I just want to go back to as much, the vibey stuff that I love. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Sorry, that was half an hour on one question.
Well, welcome to that pedal show.
17.
Daniel Maduria says, does everything sound like crap after playing through Robin's Dumble? No. Everything's great, but it's an experience that will not leave me ever. Yeah.
That's it. I still, plugged into the matchless and I'm very, very happy. It's an amazing app. But it has opened my eyes to something that the Dumble's got. It's like, oh, there's something in this that I really connect to that I want to have a play with.
Aaron, Albus Band. Aaron is on. Hey, mate.
G'day, mate.
Hope you're really well. He says, I think the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf. He says,
oh, buddy, I look forward to your comments every week. That's so good.
I love the Benson episode, but I wondered, is a taco a sandwich?
No, I guess technically it's a roll. If the taco was split and then you put it between two pieces of taco, that'd be a sandwich. But it's not. It's like a roll. It's like a crispy hot dog roll that's been flattened and...
Why is it called a sandwich? Was it invented by the Earl of Sandwich or something?
Let's go with yes. Yeah, until then, people were just like throwing food at their faces and going, this is pointless. And then he came along and just went, hang on a minute. Yeah. But take those bits of bread, you throw them at yourself and it's...
Yeah. I think we could get into definitions of what is the difference between a bread, for example, and something like a taco. Because what you also have to bear in mind is that, culturally speaking, tacos, do they exist in Australia?
What, originally?
No, but if you go to Australia, do people know what tacos are?
Yes.
Okay, because here, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying...
We've got wheels and stuff there now as well.
No. But I'm saying it's if you go to America and say, do you know what a taco is? Most people say yes.
Of course.
If you walk down Frome High Street and says, do you know what a taco is? Most people would look at you and go, it's the thing in my lorry that I have to... They wouldn't know what it is culturally in the same way that it is known in the rest of... in some other parts of the world. So it's a bit of a difficult situation. And are tacos soft or hard?
Hard. Soft as a tortilla.
Yeah, well, see, there you go. I don't know.
Well,
So it's,
next time you're confused, just ask me.
if it's a tortilla, I can see that that's more bread-like, right?
Yeah, well, it's a corn-based flour that they made out of, and the tacos is a thin shell. But you can get soft tacos.
So you can get soft tacos.
You can get soft tacos. Yeah, the
Right.
hard, crispy tacos.
Yeah.
Taco.
No, in which case it's not a sandwich. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
I'm in the unfortunate situation, says Ed Airfire. Hi, Ed. He says, in the unfortunate situation where I can't unhear the two rocks I've played. Mick, can you explain the differences of the CRS and the Studio Sig? Tonally, knowing my wallet is screaming. Love to all. I haven't spent any extended time with the Studio Sig, I'm afraid to say. And I don't know, Jake might be able to answer this. Is the Studio Sig basically a CRS in, or does it have an overdrive channel as well?
It's a CRS, a classic reverb.
It is.
The little baby one.
Okay.
Is it like the Jet?
No.
Okay.
The Jet is ODS type thing.
Yeah.
Because I had a Jet
Yeah.
and I loved it.
Yeah.
It's just run ads for some people and I don't know why.
Oh, because we're half an hour in, probably. Right, on the ads, apologies, you cannot turn them off until after the show is uploaded. So I'm really sorry. I set it with the longest gap between ads I possibly could.
That is why.
But you can't, I'm really sorry to say you can't turn them off until it's been uploaded. So sorry.
We've so Brock Blue says the great taco tone debate of 2024. Mark Soviet, it's all bread. And now Scott Carroll saying, can we go with a burrito tangent? We could do. Yeah.
I think you'd be happy, Ed, with the Studio Sig if you consider the price difference for the CRS is pretty insane. I mean, two rocks aren't by any stretch of anyone's imagination affordable, but the Studio Sig more so than the CRS. Yeah, without having played a Studio Sig a lot, I did before my classic reverb. I had two Studio Pros. Yeah, I had a 35 and I had a 50. And there are some things I prefer about both of those amps over the CRS.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of small things.
Right.
Obviously, given the choice, I would have the CRS because it does about 90% of things in a way that I prefer. But I really like those Studio Pros. They had a pull mid thing and it did a pretty reasonable overdrive, as I remember. And I just liked it. It was easier. What I would say, it was easier to use than the CRS. CRS has got about 18 switches on it.
Right.
Which I know Matt Schofield, for example, just has them all in the off position. Every single one in the off position.
Lords of Form says Taco Rock CRS.
and turns it up. So I think you'd be pretty happy, Ed. I think you'd be pretty happy. I've never played a two rock I haven't liked.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, they know how to voice an amplifier.
Especially in this modern age. There was a slightly dodgy period where Premier Builders Guild got hold of it. And
Was that what I had? My
yeah.
Jet was that.
But the Jet sounded great. I love the Jet.
My Jet sounded awesome, but I just kept blowing up with transformers.
And that's where mine came from, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they were all bad by any stretch of the imagination. But under the ownership of Eli and Mac, they are...
Are they still making the Jet?
No.
No. Okay, that's gone. So what do they have a 35 watt thing that's replaced it?
Jet would be
The TS1.
to a point.
Okay.
So the Jet's kind of probably bits of in all the other amps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good luck, Ed.
Yeah. Good luck, mate.
Matt McGrath, Legends, happy Monday and best wishes to all in the TPS family. Matt McGrath, he yields his question to the chat.
When's Philip Sayce coming over?
I think like a number of those American artists, they go to Europe. But since dear old you know what, it is such a pain in the arse to come to the UK
Oh, for crying
that
out
I think
loud.
they kind of avoid it.
He's back important.
And is he coming to the UK? Great.
Right, let's get hot because I'm desperate to see him play. I just want to stand in front of him and just take it all in.
It's yeah. Lots of people are saying, Chris Smith, Willie Fox are saying YouTube Premium is really worth it. So if you watch a lot of
Oh,
YouTube,
interesting.
pay the money, subscribe to YouTube Premium, and then you get no ads. Or you can have the option of having no ads. May not be worth it for TPS alone, but if you watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, then pay the premium and do it.
Cool.
Because Google do need to just be a bit richer, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't say that.
I hear the bots assembling now
Yeah.
on the channel, just attacking.
Attack him, kill him. Oh God.
It would be terrible if the bots took over and suddenly there was, I really like YouTube's premium ads and I think that you should buy them and everyone in YouTube land should pay for premium ads. And
AI kids. Mark Sieber says tacos are soft.
they can be hard. They're hard or soft.
The Spanish
Taco,
turtle
taco.
says taco because it can be either. Hodge wants to know, is cereal soup?
Oh, no.
I think soup has got to be...
You gotta have a base, surely.
Soup has got to be savoury.
Yeah. There's a gazpacho soup.
Yes.
There you go.
And glorious. One of my favourite things, gazpacho. I'm just actually trying to find a question from someone. Absolutely no. Oh, there we go. Here we go.
Oliver, 883, is that you?
No.
Okay. Okay, no, you go.
Oh, I was. This is from Palomar Sound. Palomar Sound.
Palomar.
How do all of us feel? How do you all feel about offset tellies, like a Jazzmaster shape with telly everything else?
Okay, so normally I would say no, but then I played a Novo guitar, and I know it's not the same thing, but oh man, that guitar was awesome. So I think you've got to be open to these new things, he says, with the flipping Teles and Jags and Les Pauls and SGs behind him, because I'm so breaking the mould. But you can... it's got to be on a guitar by guitar basis. I don't think there's any point in trying to imagine what that guitar is going to sound like. You have no clue until you pick it up and play it. But find one and try it out, because I'm sure people have done that. Actually, I can. There's one in my head if I can remember the builder. Yeah. Give it a go. I would have said steer clear, but I played that Novo thing and it was like, no, this is amazing. So it can be done.
I'm going to become really boring in the next few months. Like, let's see how long it takes for whoever to get annoyed.
Okay.
My answer to all of these questions from this point on is, does the music require it?
I like that. Yeah.
Does it make the music better?
Right.
Either by you being inspired enough to want to play it,
That's good.
or that it sounds in a way that the combination of you and it and whatever other gear you're using, does it contribute to the music being better?
Great.
And if the answer is yes, then the answer is yes.
I like that.
That's how boring I'm going to be, Dan.
There's the new T-shirt. If the answer is yes, then the answer.
Because I think, it's a bit rich for us to sit here as purveyors of guitar nerdery on the internet and as gas enablers to start saying idiotic things like it's all about the music. But it is about.
We have to be.
It is about context,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And
We've got to be pointed
everything,
in that direction.
everything requires a context. And while I think we can all get emotionally attached to certain things, and heaven knows I am, you know, as Dan was alluding, we really do like traditional guitars and, you know, other traditional things. The moment that changes is when there is a context. So in my brain, I very rarely want anything other than this.
Yeah.
Really.
Yep.
Because, you know, I mean, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
So, but then music comes along and you need to make a noise and fit into an ensemble or do something that that the music requires, and at that point that might not be that anymore.
Yeah.
It might be an offset with telly bits on it.
Yeah.
It's whatever
And
gets
in
you-
the spirit of the music, exploration is a thing. And, you know, I'm always up for exploring and trying stuff and being open-minded. When you approach the music with really firm, preconceived ideas that are immovable, that can be limiting. And so the other side of whatever the music needs, you know what I mean, is to be open to actually whatever it needs.
Yeah.
In this case, it needs me to sit out, you know, or it might need, you know, just a massive sustained power chord or whatever. But yeah, being open to that and to experimentation, I think is key. One of the when I did the Roxy Music board for Phil Manzanera and just got to spend a bit of time with him, and one of the things that guy has never stopped doing is experimenting and playing, just playing with stuff.
Most artists are the same,
Yeah,
aren't they?
that's really beautiful.
Robin was the same.
Yeah.
Is the same.
Yeah.
Just always looking.
Yeah.
And not in some sort of, oh, I haven't found it yet kind of way. Not that.
Yeah.
Just in
Just
a
being
kind
open.
of, the journey must continue.
Yeah.
Wow,
Totally.
that got esoteric very quickly.
Very good.
Peter Hall says, Mick, quick strat question. Have you ever tried the middle pickup in the neck position? If so, are the sounds different? No, they're the same. You might find that in some Strat sets, there's a couple of points of K difference. So the neck might be 5.6 and the bridge might be 5.8 or whatever the numbers are, but they're the same.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. So no, shouldn't sound very different.
Did they ever make Strat? So forgive my ignorance. Did they ever make Strat pickups just all the same and just put them in?
Forgive mine, I don't know.
Right.
Yes, I would have thought so.
Interesting.
I don't actually know the answer to that question.
Because it seems to me on a production line, you're just making them and throwing them in the bin, and then they're picking them up and wiring them in. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. Strat people, get in there. You may know. Could have been a later thing that they realised the bridge needed a bit more humana. As a technical term.
Jamie Brown says, yes, they did. There you go.
Yeah.
Joshua Petro says the middle pickup is reverse wound usually, so I wouldn't move it. Well, the reverse wound came later.
That's a good point. Modern Strat pickups are often RWRP, exactly as you say, but that didn't come in until the mid-70s, maybe even late 70s, maybe even early 80s. So, dare I say, proper Strat pickups are all the same wind and polarity.
So a bunch of people, including BV, have said yes, they absolutely did that.
Yeah.
Just made them, threw them in a bin, pulled them out, stuck them in.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move along. Chad Kemp. Hello, Chad.
Hello, Chad.
He says, good day, fine gents. I would love to hear your thoughts on Ian Thornley's tone.
From Big Wreck.
And how one might get a similar tone. I believe he tunes down a full step, but how do I get that growl?
Yeah, you need Ian's ears and hands and tonal sensibility. So a friend of mine turned me on to Ian a year ago. So I was very late to the party. Far out, man. What a talent. Yeah. And he uses lots of stuff, right? He's not a big pedal guy. I don't know. It's, a really interesting thing I heard the other day. Steve I was being interviewed. So, and this is a tangent, but it'll come back, I promise. Steve Vai, after his first gig with Zappa, says to Frank, how'd I sound? And Frank said to him, you sounded like something like an electric sandwich or something really remote. And Steve says, but how was my tone? Frank says, the tone's all in your head, man. It's like, I love that.
Yeah, he said a lot of very profound things. And
he did.
I think we could add that one to the list.
Yeah. If you chasing someone else's tone is a really interesting thing. It's very valuable as far as you getting to understand the elements. So I've been having a really deep listen to a bunch of things lately on the radio. Listen to things like the guitar solo on Wild Cherry, Play That Funky Music. I heard that today and I thought, that sound is awesome. And then followed up was My Sharona, the guitar sound on that. It was like, the solo was just awesome. So good. And I'm going, okay, I would love to have a deep dive into some of those sounds and see what they used. Now, if you're interested in Ian Thornley, check out, and there'll be, someone will have it written down somewhere, the guitars and gear that he used for specific songs. And then have a play with that or something similar and just see if it connects with you and see if you can draw the line from that gear to that sound, because it's a lot more difficult than you think.
Is it? I've had the pleasure of sitting opposite Ian while he's been hammering and listening to his tone. He likes a lot of gain.
Yeah. But he knows, but he can control it.
And usually some delay.
Yeah.
So it's in the way we might think of it, I think of it as quite a modern tone because there's loads of gain and quite a bit of delay. And by modern, I mean post 76. But you're right in the way that the way the notes come out, certainly when he plays slide, he definitely has a sound all himself. It's not the same thing, but in the same breath, I would talk about Alan Hines.
Yeah.
You know it's Alan, straight away,
away,
just the way he approaches his legato, for example.
Yeah.
And so there is something in the interface with the guitar from the human. That's a really weird way to put it. There's something, the way in which you play the guitar that has a phenomenally impactful effect on how the notes come out.
Completely.
And that can be, right, obviously this isn't plugged in, but figure the difference between give that 100 watts or 50 watts and a bunch of pedals, and the difference is just everything. So that's my incidental music. So in conclusion, watch how he plays.
Yeah. So
copy his inflections.
Yeah.
You'll get more out of that than you will what fuzz pedal to use.
Yeah, sure. Friend of mine, Mark Johns, very dear friend of mine, first ever gig customer actually. He was London session legend for years and years. Played guitar for Ray Davies for a long time. When he was doing sessions, so he got called to do a Stephen Capelli, Django Reinhardt session, and it was all going to be cut live in the studio. And he looked at old photos of Django playing and studied the way he held the guitar, and he stood with it, and he copied down to that, and it's like, and he plays it to me, and it's like, it could be It could have been Django. But it's like all that stuff, the way you hold yourself and, all that stuff makes a massive difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen to the inflection of the notes. Few people have mentioned some of the gear that Ian uses in the list. Yeah. Totally unique sound and just such a wicked player. He's one of those players who has basically perfect intonation all the time.
Scott Curry says, I watched Robin's right hand the whole time he was playing on your show. So did we. And you watch his right hand, it was like, aha! That it's the engine, it's all there. Getting to spend a bit of time with him and actually sit up close with him. And he's so generous with that stuff, and he's happy to share everything with you. It's like, you can hear that pick on the string and how he's just got the perfect amount of pressure for each string. He knows exactly where he's going the whole time. Masterful. Absolutely masterful.
Daniel Thornton. Hello, Daniel. He says, greetings from Seattle.
Oh, lovely.
I have a Princeton and an AC-15.
Nice.
Which to his maths is 27 watts in total. I played together, both of them together on stage. How do I think about the combined volume? Either one alone might not be loud enough without miking the amp, but what about together?
So a wonderful thing happens when you use 2 amps together.
People think you're really sexy.
Yeah.
Especially if it's 2 massive amps.
Definitely. And the sound guys will just love you.
They'll love you. You won't create any sort of barrier pre-sound check at all if you roll in with 2 412s. No problem to overcome there at all.
No, it's pretty great.
Anyway, sorry, we digress. So
there's a coupling that happens with the amps and phase, and it becomes more than some of the parts. It's quite extraordinary. So the thing to think about when you're adding 2 separate amplifiers and 2 separate wattage values, it's not... Gordon Rankin, who's actually in the chat, explained this to me in detail once, but it's not actually... If you get a 15 watt amp and a 17 watt amp, you don't end up with 32 watts. It's something different. But if you think about doubling the power of an amplifier is only 3 dB extra volume. So, if you have 2 amplifiers of the same thing, you're not going to be twice as loud. Realistically, you're going to add about, depending on how powerful it is. But if you're adding, if you've got 15 watt amp, add a second 15 watt amp, then theoretically you're going to add about 3 dB. But there's something happens when the amps couple together, and that gives you this weight. It's really very groovy. I don't know if if the Princeton you've got there is a 12-inch speaker or a 10-inch speaker. It's a different thing mixing a 10-inch speaker and a 12-inch speaker. They don't couple in the same way, but still a very, very cool sound. I ran an AC30 and an AC10 twin together for years. Magic sound.
Yeah, as he says, might be slightly louder, but the overwhelming effect will be fuller. So you'll notice that it sounds bigger and fatter, and which might not be what you want. But and of course, if you've got 2 amps side by side, there'll be a bit more spread. So rather than just the directionality, you know what I'm on about. That very kind of directional thing that happens from one speaker. You got 2, all of a sudden there's less of that. Yeah. So it might be that if you've ever stood in the beam of a guitar speaker, it's very loud, and then you go 6 feet that way. Sometimes you can barely hear it. That will help with all of that. So yeah, I wouldn't obsess about the numbers too much, about wattage and all of that, because at the end of the day, that's all about gain and headroom.
Here you go. Gordon's chimed in. Double the power is 3 dB, and double the volume is 6 dB. So if you want to double the volume, you need 4 times as much power. But
with respect, that's not very helpful, because where are those dBs frequency-wise? If you add 6 dB at 50 hertz, everyone's going to want to go to the toilet, but no one's going to think it's any louder.
Mm.
If you add 6 dB at 3K, they're going to tell you to turn down.
Yeah, and I guess it's one thing to say, okay, it's flat across the board, but with the guitar amps, as soon
No,
as you
it never
change
is.
volume, it's never flat. Never, yeah. So
Yeah. So you can, in terms of perceived volume, it's almost like you can do as much with an EQ pedal as you can turning volume up and down. So that's a separate discussion. On a slight tangent, one thing I am finding,
yes,
since we are hearing things in a whole new world with our recording gear, used to be that we'd use 2 amps all the time to get a fatter sound.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm listening to it through this going, maybe that's too fat.
ooh,
It's quite interesting.
that is very interesting. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
See, yeah, okay. See, I've been thinking about the 2 amp thing, about trying having one big, clean headroom amp and one small, maybe a Princeton, maybe the AC10,
Like Phil X
like a Phil X thing,
or Brian May
or Brian May.
or
The
Paul
D
Stacey
key,
in a slightly
the-
different way.
The D key thing, I want to have a look at that because it's. Well, I remember first, you know, when they released the Queen multi-tracks, you go and remix your Queen tune.
Yeah.
I'm listening to the solo going, sorry, that's not an AC 30 by itself. A lot of his solo stuff, you listen to it's like, yeah, there's something else going on there, and that little D key thing is adding a lot of those harmonics and overtones. It's very cool.
Yeah, and the mic, it was,
All that stuff.
and the mic pre, and how much did they load it into the desk?
Yeah, all that stuff.
Groovalicious. Philip Zielk, and I apologise, Philip, if I haven't said that right. Philip Zielk or Zielke. He says, hello from Fort Worth, Texas.
Hello, sir.
Hello to Fort Worth, Texas. I do believe Buddy Whittington is from Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, good old buddy.
He says, Mick, a while ago you talked about playing and being in the moment. The concept has not only greatly helped my playing, but also helped my son's baseball swing. Thanks for everything.
Very good. So many levels. Changing the world, mate.
I say this with an entirely straight face. If everyone on the planet was in a state of conscious presence all the time,
We would be sorted.
all the world's problems would go away.
I like it.
No bullshit. It really is the link to doing stuff better, more successfully, more fulfillingly, etc., etc., etc. And if you talk to any great athlete, sports is a really, really great example of it, hence your son's baseball swing. If you're thinking, am I going to hit that ball? Guess what? You're going to miss it. If you're in the moment, you'll hit it. Just how it works. Flow. Yeah. It's really profound. It's really, really profound. All the best art, all the best literature, all the best music is all made in the moment. It's not made by thinking about it.
Sorry, I'm just trying to
I like it.
incidental music
It's good.
to the powerful words.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
And now dance. Yeah, you wouldn't need any reverb, would you?
No.
Yeah. So it's almost like Chris Benson's been in there.
You don't have enough of this in your sound.
Chris Norman, hello Chris. He says, evening gents, new guitar day, second-hand Vintera Tele Deluxe
Lovely.
with a mocha finish, monstrous tone via the wide range pickups. It's a beaut.
Yeah.
Cheers as ever.
Lovely.
Oh, I hope you enjoy that, man. It's a unique feeling, isn't it? New guitar day.
Yeah. Because you don't know. Until you get it and live with it for a while, it's like you don't know. But sometimes it just fits in your head and you go, oh, this is good. Well done, mate. The Vinteras are great. Really, really good.
Yeah. Frankie Holt says, I left the video playing. No sense in hurting the boys' wallet. Read the ads. Thank you, Frankie. We appreciate that. It does make a difference, actually. And we do appreciate it. Square Wave Symphonies. Alex, how are you, mate? Nice to hear from you. He says, good evening, Legends. Quick question for Dan. Can the 321 be powered from a distributor, or do you have to use an isolated supply? Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, buddy. 321 can be powered from a distributor because everything that we do now is internally isolated. Boom. So you can power it from anything.
Like me. Internally isolated.
So yes, you can go straight from a distributor.
Nice. Can G3 go straight from a distributor?
No, G3... No.
Needs
because
more
there's...
currents?
No.
Raisins.
G3 can go straight from a distributor. Yes, it can. But it needs to be 9 volts. So a lot of the new stuff,
It's 24.
Anything from 9 up to 30 volts.
So you need to make sure it's only getting 9 volts.
G3 needs to get 9 volts.
What about a humdinger?
Humdinger can be, the new Humdingers, 9 to 30.
Nice. There we are then. Lefty O Bass. Lefty O Bass says, hi DNM. Well, I managed about 8 whole minutes of Friday's episode before buying a Germanium preamp from Benson.
How good did that sound?
It is awesome, but what separates preamps from overdrives? Is it their output, is it the circuit, or is it just marketing? In the Benson preamps case, it is a bit of marketing because it does function perfectly well as an overdrive pedal.
Yeah.
And we haven't actually tried it as a full-on pre, or maybe we did and we said actually it does, like a bit like the automaton, it just does about get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, you can use most things as a preamp. There's not many overdrives we got here that we couldn't use as a preamp turned up. They just might be a bit noisy. The thing with the preamp is because a good preamp, because you're going to be hitting maybe a phase inverter and a power stage, it's got to be considered that, the noise floor's got to be kept under control and it's got to have a certain amount of output that'll still function well at. It's fine to have an overdrive pedal cranked up and you can say that's my preamp, but actually if you want a clean tone that has enough output that will drive a power stage, then it's a different thing. But yeah, I mean, the idea that if it's just before an amp, it's a preamp, I do not subscribe with that. The preamp has got to be able to drive a power stage. So I would say things like...
In guitar terms.
In guitar terms.
Yeah.
So things like a fuzz pedal. A fuzz pedal is not a preamp.
No.
That's not going to drive much at all.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons, it doesn't have the output and doesn't have the output impedance to drive it.
Yeah, remember that there's an impedance relationship between the output of the pedal and the input of the amp.
Exactly.
And the input of the amp on the front panel anyway is optimized for that.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's optimized for your guitar, and the pedal that sits in between is optimized to work in that position. Once you start hitting a effects loop return or something like that, or a power amp input, that impedance relationship is different.
Exactly.
So,
very, very true.
Yeah, so that's one difference, and that's why if you look at there are a few genuine preamp pedals out there that can be used as overdrive pedals as well. Not many, but for example, the Kingsley Juggler Mark III, which I use a lot, that's got a switch on it which says I'm an overdrive pedal, I'm a preamp. And confusingly enough, I'm also somewhere in between. But it's optimized for either use depending on what it's going to hit. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Anyway, your Germanium preamp
Yeah. So
wants to
good.
be in front of your amp and the rest of your effects pedals. Put it there. Awesomeness.
Much awesomeness.
Chad Kemp. Hello, Chad. He says, another cue. I just came upon the opportunity to purchase a 1975 Fender Twin Reverb for $995.
Get out of town.
It has new filter caps and a recent service, but has replacement speakers. Is this a good buy? I don't know about prices in the US. A couple of my first proper amps were twins of that sort of era. A bit later maybe, early 80s. loud, clean, great. Don't worry too much about speakers, I wouldn't say. If the reverb and the vibrato works and it doesn't hum like a banshee when you turn it on,
Yeah.
why not? $9.95.
Dollars.
You can pick up late 60s bits for that. Showmans and stuff sometimes, even though that's got no reverb. If it sounds good and you like it, it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, and without knowing what the speakers are, yeah, if you plug into it and go, this is awesome, great. Like a vintage valve amp for under $1,000 and a twin, what a great pedal platform. You'll be able to set up an epic rig around that because it'll take anything. You know,
I think we paid $1,200 for that Bassman, but there was also a Marshall, really nice Marshall 212 cab for that, and that's $79.
Right.
Not as desirable as a twin, you might say, because
Yeah.
so that's a head. So I don't know, it feels about right, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Well, dollars as well. Yeah. Well done, mate. Great.
Yeah. Wadey, 1960 CS. Hello, Wadey. He says, just a slight token of my appreciation is all. Please grab a question from the chat. Hope all is well, and you have a blessed evening after the show.
Oh, bless you.
Hello to Jake Loosemore, says Wadey, 1960 CS. Friend of yours, Jake?
Yeah, I know.
Ah, nice.
It's in the US.
Good. We'll grab it. Thank you for that, Wadey. We'll grab a question from the chatter-latter.
There was a good one a little while ago. Where'd it go?
Well, we'll go with CompuCorder 64. CompuCorder 64, which I sort of hope is a reference to Commodore 64.
Commodore 64, sure.
Yeah. He says, I wonder if anyone knows if the newer made in China Vox AC 15 or AC 30 S1, if the top boost channels are likely to be in the same phase.
Now, that is a good question.
I think our AC 15, which is a C1 made in China, I think the channels are opposing phase.
Okay. Which would make sense. But we'll confirm. Maybe someone else can
Someone
confirm.
will know. So, Chinese made Vox AC 15s and AC 30 S1 are the channels in phase, or should we say, are they the same polarity or opposing polarity? I'm going to say they're opposing, but I don't know that for certain.
Did you have a Commodore 64? Sorry, CompuCorder 64 says yes, it's a Commodore 64F.
What do you think, Daniel?
I think he didn't.
Do you think I had a home computer? Honestly? Given everything you know about me?
I think you might have had one and used it to play cricket with.
The only home computing I can remember was
An abacus.
you used to get those things, a separate unit, and you could do the bats up and down on each side of the telly,
Pong.
and it would play tennis
Yeah.
across the thing.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember thinking, what is the point of that? And just going, who
Why?
would do this? Why would you do this? And I think I got on my bike and went out.
Nice. That's lovely. I remember that coming home and
Did you have a Commodore 64?
No, I didn't. I couldn't afford a Commodore 64. I had a second-hand VIC 20,
Right.
which was just an abomination.
Called
of a
Vic
thing.
because it was made in Victoria?
No, called, I don't know, VIC 20. It was like 1/3 the power of a Commodore 64.
And presumably that was 64 bytes, was it? The
It was-
Commodore 64?
Yeah. It took 64 hours to turn on. Yeah, but my friends but two friends had Commodore 64s, and I was very jealous of them.
What did they do on it? Play Manic Miner or something? Or was that... No, that was
You
a
know
ZX
what?
Spectrum thing.
You know what was really interesting about software back then? You imagine that there was such a tiny amount of computing power.
Yeah.
The creativity that went in creating the software that went into that was extraordinary.
Well, of course, I try not to use any pejorative terms. All of my very close and brilliant friends at school who were into computing now all drive porkers and live in giant houses, obviously.
Yeah.
All the nerds, basically. I can also remember that playing the guitar as a young boy and slightly pre-teenager attracted the attention of females in the way that playing Manic Miner did not.
Yeah.
I did pick up on that early days.
Yeah.
That was
Who didn't?
the people playing Manic Miner. unless, you know, it's quite fair enough that they might have been more interested in that.
Yeah. Well, because I
And that's
wasn't,
fine, you know?
I wasn't into sport like as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the other guys my age were into sport, but I was into music. And it was like, there was between Australia, sport and music as an equal opportunity attractor of the ladies. And
of romantic interest.
There you go. And
from any gender.
And I thought, well, because I couldn't do sport. My brother was really sporty.
Yeah.
And I just sucked at everything.
All
but
sport?
I could do pretty much all sport.
Wow.
I think I'd surfed. Well, I started surfing when I was like 30 or 28 or something. And that was good. But everything else I was terrible at. But music was like, okay, well, can you do this? And, you know, it was a lonely life.
John Cooper says the VIC-20 had 4K of memory.
Brilliant.
4K.
There you go.
It is mad, that, innit? I mean, for what it's worth, a day's filming on TPS will warrant about 1 terabyte's worth of data.
So what's that? How many K is a terabyte? Is that 1,000,000 K?
Literally no idea. I mean, a terrible byte is 1,000 murder bytes. And then a murder byte is how many bytes?
I don't know.
It 10,000
someone's gonna tell us.
Yeah, it is crazy. I do remember spending about £1,000 in 1993 on a computer that had a 500 megabyte hard drive.
Okay. Yep. Cool. I still don't know what that is.
500 megabytes?
Yeah.
The disk in the back of that thing there
Yes.
is 1 terabyte.
What does that mean?
Uh,
A terrible byte.
Actually, no, it's not 1 terabyte. Yes, it is 1 terabyte.
Okay, Brian Carpenter says 1,000 megabytes equals 1 gigabyte. There you go. James Richmond says 976,562,500 kilobytes. There you go.
There we are.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Getting confused.
Right.
Right.
Wow. So a terabyte is 1 billion. So 1,073,741,824 kilobytes. So my VIC-20 had 4 kilobytes.
Bytes.
4K.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
4K.
Yeah.
So 4 kilobytes and a terabyte has over 1 billion.
There we are. 8 bits in a byte, says James Blessed.
1 terabyte's 1 billion kilobytes.
Speaking of biting, we are, a little bit hungry. Anyway. Good. A nibble should be a unit of measure, says Basil Tufani. Yeah. To everyone who's just turned off, you don't know what you're missing. Jim B. Sat on the sloop, Jim B.
It's in Jim, I'm sure.
He says, I don't play out anymore, says Jim B. I'm not very mobile. So my pedals are for recording. Can you discuss effects that work well on different tracks together. Reverb and delay.
Yeah.
Soak it in that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing how much, especially delay, it's amazing how much delay you can get away with when you're recording. Yeah, it always surprises me. It's different live. Just a little bit to thicken it up, but in recording you can really give it some. You know, I listened to today, the Running with the Night was on the radio.
Oh.
Steve Lukather's solo on that. Didn't have any delay on it. I just wanted to mention it because it was so awesome, and I couldn't find another way in.
One tip for you might be, Jim. Seeing as we're talking about Lukather, certainly from his golden era of playing sessions and stuff, and into that we could add Edward Van Halen. We could add all the loads and loads of great music that was made from the late 70s through the 80s and onwards. What you can try and do is have the guitar on one side, but put the reverb from that guitar on the other. And that
that's a great idea.
Involves a bit of post-processing, but that's how various famous tracks were done.
Is it just the reverb?
Yeah.
So the dry on one side, reverb on the other.
Wet on the other, yeah. Rick Beato goes into that in some detail on his channel. And maybe think about complementary things. So mixing is a really, it's a gift. It's also a science. It's something that you can start from first principles. One first principle is something called LCR, left, center, right. And I'm not saying that this is the right way to mix anything, because such a thing doesn't exist. But as a basic principle, you could start with an LCR approach. So when you've got multiple guitars, for example, don't panic like 10 to the left or 10 to the right. Go, this is in the left and that's in the right. Plenty of very famous bands have done that down the years. And it might be a good way that you can experiment with, stick that guitar with harmonic tremolo on that side, and that guitar with vibe or a heavy delay or chorus or whatever it is on that side. And that way, if you use the pad in your headphones or on your studio monitors, you'll be able to hear very distinctly what's happening. What will then happen is when you hear it as a stereo mix, interesting things will start happening between the two speakers and give you a very definite stereo spread. There's probably a load of people in the chat going, yeah, but it doesn't work if you sum to mono. Who the hell sums to mono? It is a thing, and if you're doing high-end mixing and high-end recording, you do have to think about it and is a consideration. But for mucking about at home, and I don't mean to denigrate your output, but for experimenting and having fun, and try a bit of LCR, try and commit to a full left-right, and put different effects in different speakers.
Yeah.
And that could be one way to approach it.
Yeah. Hard panning. Great. Really great.
Yeah. Bring the drums in just a bit. Hard pan drums.
Really?
Just in a bit.
Okay.
About there. Yeah. It's like if you stand in a room, you don't hear that cymbal in the right speaker, do you?
No. Oh, okay.
You
That's
hear
cool.
it kind of a bit there and a bit there.
Right.
But you might hear it slightly more there.
Okay.
And then what that then does is it enables your hard panned instruments to really go wide.
Yes.
Anyway, I've just completely defecated all over my LCR theory. So let's rewind. Yeah,
Grant,
try that.
Yeah, give that a go.
Try that.
Grant says, saw Andy Timmons on Stage It on Saturday. If you guys haven't seen an Andy Timmons Stage It episode, go and watch it. It is just really wonderful. And he always puts on an amazing show. It sounds great. And he's so, answers questions and is, really beautiful. But Grant says, saw Andy Timmons on Stage It Saturday. Lots of pics, Dan's Telly at Abbey Road. So yes, I recorded with Andy at Abbey Road, went down for the day, Studio 2, and we had the best day ever. I think, is this Saturday we're doing the rigs from the gigs? Rigs from the gigs.
This Saturday?
Is it even Friday? Would they show this Friday?
Oh, no,
What we're doing?
it won't be that. I don't know, it might be the Get More From Your Big Muff this Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've got quite a few things in edit, but they need a lot of work, and I'm not quite there.
Okay. So there'll be a show coming up that's got the gear that we actually ended up using on the gigs, which was really interesting because it changed quite a lot. Because we worked out after rehearsal, actually need this. But of course, Andy, we did those 3 gigs with Andy, starting at the Cavern in Liverpool, because he was over here on a Beatles pilgrimage and was recording on Abbey Road, and I thought, what's going to make that a perfect thing? I know, TPS and Andy Timmins at the Cavern, and it was magical. Yeah,
It was
really wonderful.
It's such a trip to hear him play and see him play and feel him play.
Mm-hmm.
It's he's.
Have you seen that picture of the 3 of us? Someone took a really wonderful picture of the 3 of us.
I've sort of blocked it out because I was sick. I don't really remember anything about it. Oh, nice.
Isn't that great?
We are probably playing Boys Are Back in Town there.
Yeah, maybe. Here we go. See if we can get this in.
Nice.
So good. That was at the Musician in Leicester.
That was a great gig.
Great gig.
James Richmond says, and this is a brilliant question, I don't know the answer. Do you mix from the audience or the drummer's perspective though? Like which side does the hi-hat go?
Surely you got to put the hi-hat on the... Look, you can't put... If the drummer's there, you put the hi-hat on that side. That's weird.
Well, so when I mix stuff when we're playing in the TPS studio, if the camera's there, which side do I put the hi-hat on?
That side.
Yeah. So it's from the video, it makes more sense.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess from a listening perspective... Yeah, because you'd always be stood in front of the kit, wouldn't you?
Yes, of course. Yeah,
you wouldn't be sat behind the kit.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I wouldn't mix the hi-hat left or right. I'd put it.
And if the drummer gets
almost
confused,
down
just
the middle,
put
like
his
the
headphones
snare.
around the wrong way, and there you go.
Yeah. Indeed. Okay. I hope that was useful, Jim. Some things to try there. Armour Cloud. There can be only one.
McLeod.
How is it that you don't get any older, Connor? You stay so young.
My name's Candy. I'm sure you are.
Anyway, Armour Cloud says, I'm at a 1 in, 1 out stage of my guitar playing life. Do you have any tips on making sure you're moving the right one out and in? I'm trying to scratch that itch with certainty.
So what does that mean? Does it mean one bit of gear in, one bit of gear out?
Guitars specifically.
Guitars?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if a new guitar comes, one must leave.
Oh, man. Okay. I would say that's a great way to do it, but you need to have a month crossover. You need to be able to sit with the new guitar for a month before you know.
But you need to go to some sort of solicitor to make sure that you would actually get rid of it, because what would happen is you'd get the new one in and then you'd never get rid of the old one.
No, but I think that's a fair compromise, because otherwise you don't know until you've sat with someone. You don't know until you've really put something through its paces through a lot of different scenarios whether it's going to work or not.
You could make a sort of matrix and formula mathematically of reasons why you keep a guitar, right? And score. So
how good does it look? How good does it look? And how good does it look?
So there's the first 3. And then obviously you could weight these for priority in the way that any statistical analysis would be done. So Dan, reasons you own a guitar. What it looks like.
Yep.
Sentimental value.
The way it makes me feel.
I think that's actually the part that Paul Jackson Jr. or whoever it was played on that actually
If you
played.
listen closely in the background.
Yeah, whoever it was.
That timing and everything.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
Right, so what it looks like, number 1, sentimental value. And that sentimental value might be,
that's interesting.
oh, I got this guitar when I was 15 and I can't get rid of it, or my wife gave it to me, or, all those things, all those sentimental reasons that we add to a guitar. What it sounds like, and does it inspire you to play? And those two things aren't the same.
Yes, very true.
Can you remember that you own it? So I got guitars in cases that I have forgotten that I own. If you've got any guitars in a case that you've forgotten you've owned, they can go.
Right.
Okay, so that should be easy. But you could, you can think about all those things if you want to make it a head decision, and decide. And if you are keeping it for sentimental reasons, that might be a good reason to keep it, or it might be the perfect reason to get rid of it. So we can dispense with these thoughts in our head that fill up our brains but actually aren't any use to us whatsoever. Of course, if your, grandfather gave you the guitar and he's passed and you want to remember him, then don't sell that.
Yeah.
So I think that's one way to do it. Mm-hmm. The other way to do it, which I would favour, is go, which ones do I play all the time?
Yeah.
Everything else can go.
Yeah.
Because I'm at a point in my life that's how I feel about it.
Sure. Thing is, though, I don't play my Junior a lot. I would never sell that guitar.
But you do play it, if not all the time, you do play it regularly.
I do play it regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I play Red more than anything. And then the SG, and then the 62, and then the 65 Tele. Then, but I do play the Junior. But that's the thing. the Junior, excuse me, it sounds like no other guitar. And it's a sound that I absolutely adore. Yeah, I'm not, and even though I don't use it a lot, there's nothing would ever make me sell that guitar.
Yeah. Yep.
So everyone's different. The question is, what's important to you about the guitar? What is it that you're after?
Yeah.
Because it might be that, I've got a specific space and I want this to look amazing, and I love how this thing looks. I don't play it a lot of, when you say one guitar in, one guitar out, I don't know how many guitars are in. It might be that you've got 70 guitars and you can only fit no more in the room. To literally, you have to take one out to put one in. And
another thing to add to your index is physical space.
There you go.
Yeah, I know a couple of people have said in the chat actually. Apologies if I've missed it. Lemon Tree says always buy, never sell. I do know people who just won't sell anything that they bought.
Yeah.
As a sort of matter of principle. So, yeah, I would say. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Good luck. What the important thing is to do is try not to regret anything that you still do sell.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, it's a waste of brain space. You can't do anything about it other than track it down and buy it back. If you're going to do that. But don't worry about stuff that's gone.
Yeah.
It's a waste of brain space. Hello, Toes, says Gary Varner. Hello, Gary.
Hello, Gary.
He says, I think Dan once said to tune on the bridge pickup, but I can't recall why. Question 1. Question 2. Any TPS love for the Ebow? And thanks for such a great channel and community. Cheers from Indiana.
Oh, bless you. Thank you,
Gary.
mate.
Why tune on the bridge pickup then, Dan? I always do. I have literally no idea why.
I just think it's the pickup where the string is moving the least.
So you get the
and so it's just
least variance.
Yeah.
So would the counter argument be tune on the neck pickup because that's where it's moving the most and you need it to be in tune there?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I've always tuned on the bridge. I don't, you know what? I don't know why. I figure that's where the least amount of movement's happening. It's where I can get in tune faster, tuning on the bridge. And it also might be less bottom end.
Yeah.
That might be what's giving me the better, just a clearer, easier way to tune.
My brain is telling me it's the clearest, quickest,
Yeah.
least overtone signal,
I
and
think so.
therefore that's what it would feel quickest to me, but I don't know that is the case. Frankie Holt says I tune in the centre. Interesting. What I do is tune and then spend the next 30 seconds of the song actually getting it in tune.
Yes.
Usually.
Any guitar pedal it's only a suggestion. It's only an approximation of. If anyone else in the world was playing this guitar, it would be in tune now. But because you're playing it,
Yeah. And particularly because you're playing it on that chord.
yep.
And do we love the Ebow?
So
I've never used one.
I've got my my EOB at O'Brien Strat, which is a sustainer, which is Ebow-esque, but very similar sounds, and I love it. The Ebow I find challenging because you no longer have your right hand to use. You've got to find the point where it's doing it, whereas the sustainer is just like gonna have a bite to eat,
And you could do this with the other hand.
and come back. This will be going. It's a very cool thing, but if ever I want that sound, I'll use a sustainer.
TC Electronic did a version of it, didn't they?
They did, and we've got one,
We've got two somewhere.
and I've never seen them since.
That's why I was just looking. I think one might be in that drawer, and one might be in the shelf of pedal shame
Okay.
out there.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we should try it.
That versus the Les Paul. Can have a bite to eat.
Andrew Pickup. Hi, Andrew. Great to
mate.
hear from you, buddy. He says, hi, all at TPS. I need a pedal to act as a solo boost after a Gladio SC, Amp 11, Kingtone Soloist, and an RC booster. I have a Ryra clone for this, but it's too big for my board. Any suggestions? Thanks. Yes, EP booster is what I would use. It's just great and small.
Oh, we don't have the jam boost.
Yes, the jam. We don't have the jam boost because I think one is on Robin Ford's board
It is.
and one is
And I've got another one.
somewhere else.
That's really good.
I think my mate Martin might have the other one.
That's really good.
But you say you need it to be small. The clone is too small. Too big, sorry. Ryra clone is too big. Honestly, yeah. EP boost. So good at so many things. So simple. And so sweet, so crunchy.
Still awesome.
I'm trying to think if there's anything with top jacks in it. There must be.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Archer. I just think this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this.
Page. Awesome.
It's a classic
Yeah.
for very good reason.
I tell you what's a really great boost. The NRG pumper
Oh, yeah, from Neil, yeah.
from Neil. Look. His stuff is amazing. It just doesn't get anywhere near enough love. But NRG effects. Man,
Yeah.
that guy can design a pedal.
Yep. There you go. A couple of good suggestions.
Yeah.
Loads of good things out there. No doubt many
Many. I hope this is good for you.
suggestions
As it
will be
was for
coming
me.
through
Oh, we've got
in the chat.
Nobles people in the chat.
Ah,
Greetings.
greetings, Nobles people. Tuning is overrated, says Wadey 1960 CS. I agree with that. Same as focus in photography. Give me composition and light over focus every day of the week.
Trevor Hart says, Dan, when are we going to see more of the talk box? You'll see it in there when we do the rig thing for the gigs we just did, because that was hilarious.
I did the audio for it today.
Was it good?
It is, as Jake pointed out, it is a bit crunchy, so I may have a second pass.
Okay.
Pete Thorne uses a cocoa boost, says Todd
Yeah,
Roy.
the Sir Cocoa
There you go.
Boost. It's
That
really
could be
great.
worth looking at. Michael Giliberto says an Andy Wood ad just busted in on my YouTube.
Yeah, come on.
Good.
You know, we're still pushing for us to visit.
What month of the year is it?
September.
Because there might be something else brewing for September, Nashville direction.
Come on.
Been talking to Jim Walsh,
Come on.
and he's
please.
been suggesting some things.
I want to go.
I know you want to go. I want to go as well.
Hey.
I can't handle travelling and production. I just can't do it all.
No, of course.
So
I'm free that day.
Jake's free, so says. We could hire some prod
Okay.
if we sell lots of these special edition pedals that we've got
Indeed.
coming up that are going to be launched
George-
in the next few months.
George Kelly says Uncle Larry. So, my goal, my whole goal is to stalk Uncle Larry,
Yeah.
and until he has no option. The only way he can get rid of us is just sit down with us for half an hour.
I think he's up for it.
I'm so
That
free.
oh, man,
I'm free that whole month.
I just
So Jim's on about, apparently there's a thing that happens and we can go and play and do all of that. And, you can play with Guthrie and Larry. And I'm like, ew.
imagine the size of the cojones and the guy just walk up. Yeah, I sit down with Guthrie and Larry. Come on.
I'm happy to watch. And that's not, you could say all sorts of things about self-effacing and ego problems, but yeah, nah. If they're in the room, I'm watching.
So, when I'd set up Robin's board for a rehearsal with his new band, right? So we're at a rehearsal studio in London. Did I tell you this? On the way there, the road was closed because there'd been a murder, and there was a tent set up outside the rehearsal studio. It was like, oh boy. Anyway, I'm trying to say to Robin, hey, yeah, London's a brilliant place to live, mate, and it's great. What's over there? Don't worry about that. Don't look over there. And we ended up at the rehearsal studio because I was setting up his rig with his, ready for rehearsal to make sure that everything sounded great, and he was happy. He was delighted. And he says to me, Dan, did you bring a guitar? And I'm like, why would I bring a guitar to your rehearsal? So Ian Thomas and Johnny Henderson roll up, and they're saying, Ian Thomas is one of the best drummers in the world.
Yeah.
He reminds me of he's like
Animal from the Muppets?
no, like Steve Gadd, like a young
see.
Steve Gadd.
I was just thinking about drummers.
Man alive, is amazing. And Johnny Henderson doing his thing. Robin goes out, finds a Strat. He comes in and goes, come on, man, play with us. And I'm like, okay. So I spend the next 2 hours jamming with him and the band. And Robin goes, take a solo. And it's like, what do?
You take a solo.
You take a solo,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You've got to do it. So when those opportunities present themselves, just do it.
Yeah. No. Can you do a show on vintage style fuzzes that work with active pickups, says Ocelot 1206? No. Because they don't. Do they?
No. So, okay, a vintage fuzz that would work with an active pickups would be a Mark II tone bender because of the input buffer, but it would still not be completely awesome because it's still a germanium stage acting as a buffer, a germanium transistor, but it'd be better than a fuzz face. What would work? Old Big Muff would work.
So what are you saying? Something's going to have a very high impedance input?
So, no, it's the output impedance from active pickups is super low.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's not about. It's not so much about high or low input impedance. It's about being able to. It's got to work. The vintage fuzz basically is working with the inductance of the coil of the pickups, right? And you get this two-way relationship, which is why when you change the impedance with the volume knob, everything changes. That relationship changes. That's why it's, you can have 4 guitars that all sound vaguely similar into one pedal. You plug them into a vintage fuzz, and they all sound so wildly different. So it's about the guitar having that. It is impedance, but it's not about just the output impedance of the guitar and the input impedance of the fuzz. Is the way they work together.
Yeah.
You can have because the output impedance on active pickups is so low. It's exactly the same as sticking a buffer before the fuzz.
Yes. Okay.
Right? It's exactly the same.
So what we're saying is the issue is very similar to what you just said. Therefore, the workaround, if you want it to act in the way that a traditional fuzz would with passive pickups, then there's some fixes you need to do to make that work. So maybe that's the question for the show. The next question is, well, maybe I don't want that. Maybe I just want fuzzy sounds out of my active pickups, and I'm not so bothered about the roll off and the clean up and all of that. How do we make this work? I suppose there is a question in there. Have we got any guitars with active pickups? I don't mind them. Sometimes I don't mind them.
Okay.
For clean sounds. I quite like them for clean sounds.
I remember being in a studio in Sydney many years ago, 301 in Sydney, and there was a Teles sat there with a set of active pickups in it, and it sounded flippin' magical.
I think they quite often sound like a step closer to being direct to desk.
Right.
That's what they sound like to me.
Well, if you all the Pete Cornish pedals, the G2 and all those things are designed to work with David Gilmour's active Strats. So it can be done, but the idea of a vintage fuzz working with active pickups is a tough one.
For the same outcome.
Exactly. If what you're after is a vintage
vintage
fuzz tone with active pickups is a big stretch.
Yeah. Can you dig the garden with a fork?
Can you dig it?
Yes. Can you dig the garden with a spade? Yes.
Yes.
Do they do the same job? No.
No.
One of my more tenuous
So,
analogies.
interesting. So, Aaron Ismano says, could you put a transformer between active pickups and a vintage fuzz? So, I experimented with this for a long time. What happens is it does work and it doesn't work. It's not so much that the coil, because it's an inductor, but what it's missing the generator. It's missing the thing that flows through the magnetic field to create the output, to create the current, right? Which is the strings going through the magnetic field on the pickup. When you've got a buffer stuck into a transformer, you've locked down the impedance at the input. So the impedance at the input never changes. Therefore, the impedance at the output of the transformer never changes, because it's, you've got your primary and you've got your secondary, and the secondary is reflecting the primary. What happens in coils is when you play, that changes. It changes as the strings go through the magnetic field and creates those currents, and it's a dynamic relationship. With a buffer, it stops being a dynamic relationship. So it does work in that, yes, if you can change the output impedance from the output of a transformer, but still losing that dynamic relationship between what's coming from the strings and what's going through the transformer. It's a thing that we ended up creating a product called a Z cable, which basically did that, put a transformer, like a pickup coil, so you can have a massive buffered signal and then go through this pickup coil and redo that, give you a sense of that and like inductance from the guitar back into the amplifier, and it did work, but it's not the same as strings going through the field creating the current. It's just not. Sorry, that was massively. Wasn't actually no. I answered the question.
You did
in a very long-winded
in a
fashion.
technical. I think that's why people are here, Dan. If I'm honest, to hear you talk in technical terms about things.
Okay. Well, that was good.
I understood. I would say most of it.
Great.
Yeah. Great. Victor Castro says he literally said no in sync to that question. However, he does use EMGs with vintage style fuzz faces from time to time. It's a cool sound, just not that sound.
Sure.
And that is a very nice summary of I think everything we've just discussed.
It's a really good point. It's not to say that it can't work.
Yeah.
I like personally with my a vintage fuzz, I do like the output of that going into a buffer. Because then if I can dial that in, then it can work with delays and reverbs, because it then goes into a low impedance input and goes into a buffer. The problem that I was having forever with vintage fuzzes, I'd have it on the amp, amazing, then I'd stick a delay and it would just go horrible. Like, okay, let me find a way that I can, get a fuzz working with a lower output impedance that works well into delays. It doesn't change the sound of the fuzz. Yeah. So that can work. Going into the front can be challenging. But, okay, here's a really good example. No. It was... Forgive me. It's one of these two.
That's the Eric Johnson one.
That's the Eric Johnson one. That's
the Joe Bonamassa one that we took the circuit out and put the vintage NKTs in. So,
then it's that one that sounded really good with humbuckers and also sounded good with a buffer at the input. So fuzz by fuzz basis. I don't know. But
I'm just going to
try sticking a buffer into that and it's all over. It just doesn't work. But you put mixed Strat into that and you have the sound of ages.
Sean Kinnaman says he took down his tire swing from the pepper tree. He also says he has no dogs. He has no friends. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean,
for reminding us of our friend and yours. Ron Leslie saying mixed face through all of that. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm not very good. I'm not the best liar in the world with my facial expressions.
Why would you lie?
I was looking like I wanted to expire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
enough. Which is very unfair because it was bloody good information and from a place of deep knowledge. So it does explain it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've tried for a long time to get to the bottom of, and it's like physics is a pain in the bum.
Yeah. Mr. Good, my physics teacher.
Mr. Good?
With an E. Obviously, Johnny B. What was his name? Good. Philip, maybe his name was. Anyway. Evan Diebold, or Evan Diebold, says, hey DNM, what's your opinion on the way Huge Camel Toe? Seeing one on Mike Campbell's pedalboard and your wall has me interested. Thank you. Isn't it a llama in a...
That's what happened when President Obama had a fight with a llama. He had an Obama llama ding dong.
What is going on in your brain?
Oh, wrong one. Here you go.
What is it? It's a llama in
red llama and the Muffy thing, is it? Or
is it a tube screamery thing?
I don't know. Here we go.
I think we liked it a lot.
Liked it a lot. It's very good.
There's the llama in particular we like. They're no longer in production, just so you know. So if you do want to buy one, you would need to Yeah, I think it's the Tube Screamery type because it's got that 500 hertz
Oh, okay.
and the 100 hertz,
Yes,
so you can make it more more mid-focused and roll on some bottom end, which is the two things that annoys people about Tube Screamers. A rhino, green rhino, there you go.
Yeah.
And a red llama on the other side. The really cool thing about the red llama is it's one of those overdrives that uses that great big long centipede like IC.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it has any clipping diodes or anything like that. It generates all of its overdrive from that IC. And it's a pretty unique kind of response, and people love it for good reason. You can have them in series, or you can have them in parallel, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, hyper groovy, like pretty much everything Way Huge does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do neither of us have it on our pedal boards?
Yeah.
Well, Dan's never going to have anything Tube Screamery on his board.
No. Well, saying that, I'd use it as an input boost now. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we like it, Evan. Really a really groovy thing, which is kind of why it's got a nice place on the back wall there. Michael Giliberto, great shows with the Chris's last week. Chris Benson and Chris Buck. There is a full show with Chris Buck coming up, by the way.
There is, yeah. Lovely.
He says, could you compare your experience with Robin's ODS, Robin's Dumble, and your 2-Rock TS1, please? I've been waiting for this question, given that there were so many questions in the chat about it.
Right.
So the 2-Rock TS1, right, is the latest incarnation of their amp that is most heavily inspired by the Dumble Overdrive Special. And older versions of it were much more so. And I think since Eli and Mac took over the company, they've kept that principal inspiration there, but they've changed the front panel a bit and moved away a little bit from it. But for all intents and purposes, it is very, very heavily inspired by the Dumble Overdrive Special. Differences between them. I did take the liberty, because Robin's here, amp ended up being here for a while, and he gave Dan and I the okay to use it. Which I can't even believe those words are coming out of my mouth. I did sit there for a while and have a listen. It's not, I don't think it's an appropriate thing to make a video about, because it's Robin's amp and Dumble and all of that, and it's just, I don't know, it feels a bit, doesn't feel right to do that. So anyway, but for my own edification, I did it. The TS1 is very different. It's EQ'd completely different. It's got way, way, way more boxy low mid-range. I did try that through the cab, through Robin's cab, and got way closer.
Really?
Sounded way
that
closer
is
through
interesting.
Robin's cab.
Wow.
What Robin's Dumble has is this harmonic quality, and you heard it when I play that bit on the Les Paul. The playing is like all over the place, but I'm not doing it to play. I'm doing it to hear where the harmonics develop in the guitar, in the amp, sorry. And you can play like almost any note at a certain volume and it will feed back, but not feed back in a kind of
distorted,
unpleasant kind of way,
yeah.
in a sort of harmonic coupling kind of way. And if you're sat there playing a jazz box and, you know, you've got feedback happening all over Misty, you don't really want that. But
I feel misty.
But in the interests of playing harmonically rich, inspiring tones, you really do want it. And that is the thing that Robin's amp does that I have never experienced in any other guitar amp. Any other guitar amp. Some amps do it more or less. TS1 doesn't do it to that level. Which is not, I don't want to say like because immediately then that makes the TS1 sound not good. You've heard it on the show.
Oh, it's astonishing.
It gave Dan a complete existential crisis moment when we had it wet, dry, wet that day.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it's not good.
And that might be the next step for me.
Yeah.
You know, because the clean channel in that was just...
And the overdrive channel in that is still, of all the overdrive channels I've ever heard in a guitar amp,
yeah, that's astonishing.
outside of the realm of things like 5150s and dual Rex, I'm not talking about that kind of overdrive. That's a different game. But just like a natural amp overdrive, I still haven't heard anything I like more than that. I don't think. Robin's Dumble being the exception, of course, because all of us said, it's the best clean sound we've ever heard in our lives.
Yep.
And I think it's the best overdrive sound I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Apart from the thing that a crank Marshall does. Yeah. Which is a different game.
Different game, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, they are different. The TS1, one of the analogies I kept giving was when people ask things like, is a Dumble inspired overdrive pedal in the same ballpark as a Dumble amp, or is a digital model of a Dumble in the same ballpark? I say it's not even playing the same sport, let alone in the ballpark. I would say the TS1 is in the ballpark.
Yeah, sure. Oh, we got Tyler from Music is Win is in the chat.
Tyler, how are you, buddy?
G'day, mate.
It's been a long time.
It's been way too long.
It's been a long time.
Hope you're awesome. He says, looking good, boys. Why, thank you, sir. Hope you're doing great. I also have to thank you or blame you for introducing the Del Fuego fuzz to me. Yes, it's very cool. Well done, bud. He says, is there a great pedal you can think of that you've never demoed on the channel?
Oh, God, many.
So many.
The 1981 Inventions, what's it called?
Yeah.
The DRV, is that what it's called? Yeah, that's something that we would very much like to. We should just buy one, really.
Yeah.
That ought to have been on and hasn't. What else ought to have been on and hasn't?
Yeah, the 1981. Yeah.
Trying to think of anything else. Hughes and Kettner Rotosphere.
Yes.
But good news, Dan. I bought one on Reverb last week.
Did you really?
For us.
Oh,
Because
well done.
Warren Haynes is coming on.
Oh, my goodness.
And Warren doesn't have his pedal board with him.
I'm going to make one up for him.
I'm like, I've got a Klon. We'll get a Rotor Vibe.
Awesome.
So we've got to put together some other stuff
Oh, brilliant.
for Warren to play. So I'm trying to find an SLO 100 from somewhere. If anyone's got one and they want to lend us one, please let us know.
Okay.
You know a guy? Wicked. Not a new one, is it?
Don't think so.
Yeah, good. Old one.
Yeah. So an old Neutron biphase is a pedal that I've always wanted to demo, and we've never, never had one for the show. Would love to get one. Yeah, man, there's a bunch. Yeah. But I think that's a really good shout, actually. We'll get a wish list together.
Z Lebo, hope you're well, Tyler. Good
Yeah,
to hear
mate.
from you, buddy.
If you're ever in the UK, bud, come and swing past.
Please,
We'd
please,
love
please do.
to see you. It'd be really great fun. And I just want to say as well, there's a video I watched a while ago where Tyler had some shred guys on, and then Tyler stepped up and shredded as well. And you were just awesome. It was like I didn't know you could play like that, and it was amazing. So yeah, well done, mates. Great, really great.
Z Lebo wants to know, did we ever consider an M1D pedal connected to the PC so we could mute the overhead mics? You can demo sounds without overpowering us. There are a bunch of people that wish we played on VCQ. No, wouldn't do it via MIDI. What we would do is just set up a little mixer and do it that way. Just no. It's too much hassle to do it via MIDI.
Yeah.
But a little mixer maybe. But people don't want to, I mean, with respect, I think a lot of people here would just want the chat. They don't want us guffing on guitar.
Yeah.
We do that enough in all the other shows.
Indeed.
I mean, if lots of you feel very differently, then let us know and maybe we could do more sounds on here. But
Marco Giliberto says, Dan, I can bring a Landgraf OD to Experience Day. I had one.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then I sold it like an absolute silly person. And now you can't get them. But that thing was crazy good. I bought it at the same time as I got my Eternity. And, that thing sounds outrageous. But the Landgraf OD with the swirly paint job, I had one. My friend of mine bought two. He said, I love this one. You can buy this one off me. And I did. Silly decision selling that thing. Yes. Please bring it along. That'd be really fun.
Lots of people excited about Warren Haynes coming on.
Great.
Not least us, which is pretty cool. Jose Venegas says, what's the next signature pedal? Well, we can't tell you, but it's going to happen very soon. And we hope you'll all be very excited about it.
I cannot wait.
How about a show on your favourite distortion pedals, says Brian Carpenter, and finding out how much sonic territory they can cover, like low, medium and high gain, fuzzy. The Empress Heavy Menace is a winner in my book. Cheers from Michigan.
Oh, man. I tell you what. Empress, they make it, the delay pedals are amazing, the reverb pedals are amazing. Their gain stages, that what's the ones you can blend all the overdrives together?
Oh, the multi-drive.
The multi-drive.
That's excellent. Really excellent.
Heck, that thing is amazing. But yeah, that heavy distortion thing they do, their ears are awesome.
It could be, we could get into that, Brian. We have done, trying to think what we did most recently. We did DS1 a while ago and then the SD9. I think Dan and I have both sort of fallen in love again a little bit with distortion.
Yeah.
After being on a massive overdrive. And all right, they are the same thing. Let's say for overdrive, we think of smooth, harmonically rich,
soft clipping
potentially. Distortion we think of as harder, edgier, more aggressive, even though technically they're pretty much the same thing. But yeah, as distortion, we tend to think of harder sounding, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I think that could work. Keep looking around, expecting inspiration. Yes, all right, Brian, we'll do that. Justin Baylog. Hey, Justin.
G'day, mate.
Good to hear from you, man. He says, I've been super busy, missing the live shows. Just wanted to say you all sounded great through the Dumble. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Woolly Fox says, hi, D&M. I'm struggling with being heard in a band mix. I'm using a Jackson Audio Bloom as EQ and boost. I play wet dry into two 50-watt tube amps and two 2x12 cabs. I've tried less gain and more volume.
Okay. Where are your mids at?
Yeah. And trebles.
Yeah. So it's, oh man, it's so interesting. There is, with that rig, you really should have no problem.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to outshout everybody with that. Yeah.
So, question. Is it you can't be heard because you keep getting told to turn down? And that might sound silly, but the last couple of gigs I've been to, I can hear the drummer, I can hear the vocals,
The
guitars are so quiet. It's embarrassing. And I don't know why I don't know. And I sing it a lot more now. But when I go and see a band and I can hear the guitars, and the guitars are at a level with the drums where it works, it's such a magic thing. The drums now, I don't know why, but people don't mind drums being so incredibly loud. But as soon as they can hear the guitars, it's like, oh no, you're too loud.
Yeah.
Stuff that. And make sure that you can hear yourself.
Well, I have a theory. One theory is kick drum, which tends to be the thing that's very loud. And snare doesn't really get in the way of vocals.
Okay.
In the way that guitar does, because it's only happening on and off a few times per bar. Guitar is happening all the time, and therefore it does get in the way of vocals. So I think that's part of the reason. Also, nice big PA, nice kit, nice mics. Drums sound brilliant, don't they?
Yeah.
They always sound brilliant.
Yeah.
It's not hard to make a nice acoustic drum kit sound really good and lovely, and we all love the sound of that.
Yeah.
Guitars, overdrive, fizzy distortions, fuzzes. That is a harsh noise, and the sort of perceived volume is very loud because it's a more aggressive noise. Hear it with the band, get it up to its level, it works, but in isolation it doesn't sound beautiful. And I think that's why, go to an average sized venue with a decent front of house and we spend 5 minutes EQing the kick drum.
Yeah, sure.
And 5 seconds EQing the guitar.
The other thing is check the phase between your amps. make sure that both amps are receiving an analog drive-through.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Because if one amp is not receiving an analog drive-through, if you've got an AD converter between one amp and the other, you'll never get them in phase. You've got a time-based phase issue. So make sure that both amps, wet dry, both receiving an analog drive-through, and make sure they're in phase. Because if they're not, you'll be trying to turn up louder, and you'll just feels like getting quieter. So double check that as well. Because you should have no problem.
I know.
No problem being heard.
Yeah. It is. You touched on the most common thing, which is less gain, more volume, and bass. Just turn the bass down. And the mids and the treble up and the presence up. And that might sound harsh in isolation to you, but in a mix, it's what you need. So yeah, it's good luck. Good luck. Yeah, bridge pickup.
How we doing?
I'm ready to rumble.
Ready to rumble?
Dean Cutler. Hi, Dean. We saw Dean in Whitney. He says, question for Dan. When I place my Keeley Halo in front of my Ventress reverb, I get a big power thump when I kick the Ventress on and off. It goes away when I place it the other way around. Any ideas? Got DC on your output, mate.
Yeah. There you go.
Was that right?
Yeah. So, somewhere
if you want
you've
gloves,
got a bit of
we've
leaking.
got it.
So if the Ventress is first, he doesn't have the problem. If the Ventress is second, he does have the problem. Is that right?
Keeley Halo first, Ventress second, no problem.
Yep.
Other way around, blah.
Ventress first, Keeley second.
No problem. The Ventress does have momentary... actually, I can't say for sure on the Ventress. The Collider has a minute mute when you turn it on and off, I think.
Oh.
It certainly does when you switch presets.
Okay, so... Right. This, I've been thinking about, is there a show in this? I think it might be two. Can people still hear us? Okay, camera's gone down, but we're working on it. What happened?
It ran out of battery.
Oh, okay.
And the power wasn't on. That's okay.
So, right. I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about doing a show or maybe a vlog on why pedals go pop when you switch them. So Mick brought up a really interesting thing called DC. We call it a DC offset, which means that basically it's not, the ground isn't sitting at zero, and when it's sort of floating. So when you switch it and give it a ground reference, it shifts quickly, and that shift is seen, it looks like an AC shift, and it goes pop.
This is one of Dean's guitars.
When the other thing that can happen though is if you've got, imagine you've got a pedal that doesn't have an analog drive-through, but it does have a true bypass switch on it. That space of switching in and out of a delayed sound can give you a pop. But the other thing that can give you a pop is switching in a pedal that flips the phase, depending on where you are in the cycle. So if you switch in a pedal and the cycle's up here, like, you know, plus 2 volts or whatever, and then you switch it in and it flips the phase, it goes boom, minus 2 volts. So you get this 4 volt jump. However, if you switch it in just at the point where it goes through 0 volts, you don't hear it. So it's like, you know, flip a coin whether or not it'll pop. There are things that you can do about all of them. But yeah, it's, you know, it might be a quick 15-minute vlog. But yeah, so if you've got a pedal, if you swap the orders and then one goes pop when you do it, it means there's some DC getting through. So put a patch lead on the output, get your meter, set it to milliamps, and set it to DC, not AC, and just measure from the tip to the ring and see if you've got any residual DC on that.
Oh man, I was going around the 1 and the 5, thinking that we were coming to the end. We weren't. You went off, so I went to the 4 again.
And now I think I'm done.
There I am, playing softly, consideredly. He comes in with his thunderous right hand, takes over the whole bloody show. Goodness me.
What's he building in there?
Get subscriptions to those magazines. Yes. There we are then.
There we are.
Is that why my add-in echo only pops occasionally, says Frankie Holt?
Possibly.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
What did you say what the solve was?
If it flips phase, it's a massive pain. What you need to do is stick it in a loop with an inverting buffer, so that when you kick it in the loop, it comes back in phase.
Yeah.
I know. But the thing is, there is a solution for it.
Does the Halo have an expression pedal?
Yes.
Right. The other thing you could do, Dean, leave the Halo on all the time and do what Andy does and connect an expression pedal to the Halo so that you are affecting the wet mix
Yeah.
only. So with the expression pedal all the way back, no delay. All the way forward, you've got delay. That gives you the other advantage of if you're playing a clean sound, for example, you've got one level of delay. If you pump a bunch of overdrive into it, the delay will be much louder and maybe too much delay, or maybe not enough, whichever way. With the expression pedal, you'll have a consistent control over the delay level. You don't need to keep turning it on and off. The pop problem goes away, and you get more control over your wet level. So that might be a solution as well. Oh, Danny Banani. Last question then. Eagle Ray Rob. Hi Rob, it's good to hear from you, buddy. He says, I love the preamp sounds of Benson, 2-Rock and Dumble amps. Even the tomato tone has that Benson sound.
Yes.
Well,
funnily enough.
yes, obviously it does. Do you think the preamp section of an amp impacts its overall tone more than the phase inverter and power section?
It depends on the amp. Yes, but it depends on the amp. If you take something like a Tweed Deluxe, a lot of that distortion that you hear is the phase inverter being driven really hard. And it's such a cool sound. But if you take something like a Black Panel Deluxe Reverb, it's a different thing, and the phase inverter isn't being hit that hard, and the EQ, the tone stack, is responsible for shaping a lot of the tone. It is entirely dependent on the amp, which is why there are so many different amps and so many different amp designers, because all those little stages, they all play a massive part into how the overall amp sounds. And it's one of those things, you think you've heard it all, and then you get to play a Dumble, and then you get to play a Benson. It's like, man, so many cool things.
Yeah.
Camera's gone off again.
Camera's gone off again. Why?
Okay, right, the camera's gone off, so it seems like this would be a good time to say cheerio, because the battery hasn't charged up enough to even make it go. But that's okay, we've still got audio, so we will bid you adieu and say to Dan, please play us out. Thank you everyone for your super chats. We're not entirely sure what this Friday's video will be, because that's just the way things are rolling at the moment, but we greatly appreciate your company on a Monday morning, lunchtime, afternoon, evening, night, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you. Play us out, Dan. See you soon, folks. Be well. Have a great week. Come on. Look.
All right, show me how to do it. Let's do it together.
Here it comes.
Very good.
Blues explosion.
Blues implosion. Hang on.